Trump did. The horns, the seven seal, the seven sign. Donald Trump, Armageddon, martial law, anytime. So, I've spoken to a few people that's on public assistance. They received their food stamps early, but not the cash. They received their food stamps, but they didn't receive their rent money neither. Don't act surprised, people. I mean, at the end of the day, this is something that's been talked about over and over throughout the years. But I guess it's like when somebody cries wolf for the 1000th time, you don't believe it. Can you hear me now? The sad part about it is some of y'all still asleep. Whatever you're going through, in your neighborhoods, in your family structures, get it together. All the social media beef, this YouTuber with that YouTuber, if you serious about your people, if you serious about what's going on in this world, it's time to get it together. Because a house divided cannot stand. Our community is in big trouble.
Thank you all for being here. I especially want to thank Secretary Azar and Secretary Costa for doing a fantastic job
in America
for everything they're doing with respect to healthcare and more affordable healthcare at that for the American people.
And it brings in
some of the things we've come up with that are much less expensive than Obamacare.
You cannot take them out of power.
In many respects, are much better. People have to know about the options.
He has the power
options, and people have to know about that. We're here today to
discuss how
the healthcare system too often harms.
He doesn't have to wait on Congress. He doesn't have to wait on the Democratic Party to agree with this
negative sense.
All he has to do
the like
is what he has been given the power
is
to
hurting patients.
Declare a state.
We've stopped a lot of it, and we're going to stop all of it. My administration is committed to delivering a healthcare system that takes care of the American people like they haven't been taken care of before. And we can do that. It's a very difficult subject, a very complex subject.
And in the last days,
but we've all got to understand it very well.
The lies
strides
seem fruitful.
Rather amazing.
You won't be able to tell the difference between
let that be known to the American people as we make additional headway. We've already made that progress in a certain way. We're lowering it. We're continuing to lower healthcare costs. We approved a record number of generic drugs over the past 2 years. If you look at what we've done, and we're going to be putting out a list at the end of the week, a number of generic drugs, which brings down the price. It was just as good as the name drugs. In fact, one of the things that amazed me, I was asking a few of the people, including Scott, I was saying that what's the difference between a generic and a big name drug when you're paying much more money? And they say absolutely no difference. You still agree with that? I mean, so somebody has to explain why they paying for the rent. Somebody explain that first, because they literally say there's absolutely no difference, identical.
If you find yourself,
you'll pay 4, 5, 6 times more money for something that comes in Canada more from anywhere. So we've expanded that greatly, a lot of generic through the Association of Health Plans. Thank you, Secretary Dust. We've expanded access to affordable, high-quality health care, particularly for employees of small businesses and self-employed individuals. And we reduced average premiums on the federal Obamacare exchanges for the first time in the history of the honorable Obamacare. Okay, it's the first time it's ever happened. We're working very hard to get those pricing down as we really do things that are going to make it much better, and ultimately it will result probably in a court case determination that we'll all get together and we'll come up with real health care. As a result of our efforts, prescription drug prices have declined in 2018 for the first time in over 50 years. So So, prescription drug pricing is very important to me. Think of that statement. For the first time in over 50 years, it's gone down in pricing. It's not a correct statement. It's not, you know, they're going to get us. They'll be looking very strong.
All this YouTube beef,
Realize that's a very powerful statement.
I know.
Over 50 years,
We got bigger fish to fry. I guess we can get back at going at each other's heads.
but the seen and unseen costs of healthcare is still taking an enormous toll on millions of American families.
But see, that's the problem.
Something that I inherited, unfortunately, you inherited, but also the people inherited.
While you was entertained,
Reading a lot about it.
but always entertained, while you was distracted, you know, like they used to do in the Roman days, by giving you the Super Bowl, by giving you Manny Pacquiao, by giving you all of the entertainment that kept you entertained. In the Roman days, the politicians were sticking to the politics and passing laws up under your nose to give presidents the power to declare a state of emergency when there is no state of emergency. That war is not that serious.
Price and what's going on with the
Not even a little bit.
prices of procedures because they don't know. They go in, they have a procedure, and then all of a
Was
sudden
slavery a choice? Yes, it was. We all sat back and watched these laws be passed. We all sat back and watched.
And this is a big
While
shock.
we were entertained, laws being passed like the Patriot Act. Right in front of our faces, if you don't get nothing.
You know the prices up front, and you get a receipt that
World War
shows the
III is
cost
knocking
of
at your door.
every single item. You know exactly what you're paying. You go get your car fixed, and you say how much. But people don't do that with the medical to the same extent, and it gets a very unpleasant surprise.
Because everybody has their own choice.
When you don't take it up front, then the doctor or whoever it may be, double or triple the price. Oh, if you're still here or you're rich, you have plenty of money, you don't have to worry about it.
You didn't take the time out.
That's what we want to do with healthcare, so the patients will know exactly what the cost is. Want the quality. Just think of it as a consumer. You're really a consumer.
2 weeks supplies.
It's a very high
Some of
level.
y'all not even that.
Gets it free. There's some plans that are great.
But no money to go to your landlord.
So I'd like to hear about some of the experiences of the people
I don't know
who
if you went because the government money is coming.
I hope
This is what I have on my stash. Here you go.
we're going to hear that. But before we can get ready on this, we're going to costumes and follow it up.
You don't see it? Watch it. The Simpsons. Watch Simpsons. Watch the Simpsons. And they predicted Donald Trump being president. You know, because this is so far. You think Donald Trump is on your side? Donald Trump is on your side. Donald Trump is on your side. These are prophecies we are fulfilled. Like I said, we got to get it together. This is a war for righteous. This is a war for poor. The rich don't have to worry about these problems. They don't have the same problems. Their money will be fine. You have all of it. You owe God that they invested millions of dollars in their community, not white. In rich neighborhoods, they don't have to. You're not worried about the rich. They worry about your reaction, your response. You are the dollar. You are the currency. You are modern day slavery. And this is what this is. The Trump is broken.
You get better health care, much better health care, less time. People just have to know that. And it's available.
I'm going to allow this time. Great topics for us. That's my second page. All you have to do is go to the channel description. Pages. Subscribe to the other 2 pages. I will be going live this time right now. Let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, I'll be going to get my calling number. My new calling number. So you guys can call it and we can talk about this. hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. If you know better, do better. Get it together. Peace and love.
And not only does this eliminate paperwork, not only does it allow more
threats by President Trump regarding the partial federal government shutdown now in its third week. The president now says he's going to let the shutdown last 4 months or even years.
Told the president we needed the government open. He resisted. In fact, he said he'd keep the government closed for a very long period of time, months or even years.
Mr. President, Senator Schumer came out and said that the meeting, from his point of view, Speaker Pelosi, was contentious. He also said, you said in the meeting, this is him quoting you, I just want to check, that the shutdown could go on for months or even a year or longer. Did you say that?
I did.
Is that what you said?
Absolutely, I said that.
I feel like doing what you have to do. President Trump said that keeping the government closed for months.
HHS knows
Very long period of time. He dug in on demand for his campaign promise. And insisted how much time it won't let Congress see the barrier to building the walls. They built it.
So we can build a national law very quickly.
The national emergency would let the president tap Pentagon funds to begin wall construction without congressional approval.
The president also suggested he could bring the wall without congressional approval by declaring a national emergency.
The president also said if Democrats in Congress don't give him $5.6 billion for construction of a border wall, he could use emergency powers to divert Pentagon funds for that purpose.
We've already started a national emergency because of the security of the country. We can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. I may do it.
Even as hundreds of thousands of federal workers fret about missing their next paycheck, Mr. Trump's cabinet secretaries, Vice President Pence, and other senior administration officials are due to receive a roughly $10,000 raise starting tomorrow, because of a quirk in the law.
The president's ever used the word emergency, so is this a signal the president will act something perhaps?
As you said, it's something that was looking at and considering.
Declare a national emergency dependent on what's going to happen over the next few days.
And I'm not just clear is that billions of taxpayers all are delaying the tax so that they don't economy without that money in circulation.
Yeah, I mean, $130 billion in over the piece, okay? And that's a tremendous amount of money. That could annually push the country towards a recession. That money is not put in the economy. How people get their tax refund and go immediately spend it on something, or pay down a credit card, you know, it's going to be the economy quickly. And we don't have a situation to say, this is having
The resolution was not really very clear. She said realistic possibility that not having that money in circulation could in fact drag down things economically so far that it could push the country.
this idea that this money will not Excuse me, you ready?
Based on their prices.
I just told you, we're just educating. And we will take in billions and billions of dollars, far more than the president of the world war compared to what as far as concrete, I said I was going to build a wall. I never said I'm going to build a concrete. I said I'm going to build a wall. Just so you know, because I know you're not into the construction business. You go to Samsung. We have a big steel business that's rebuilt in the United States. Steel is stronger than concrete.
We also know that the Secretary of State has $5 million for the wall. Democrats have a plan for the president was asked about all the unpaid federal workers who are struggling to pay their bills, and Trump responded saying, he quotes, that makes sense. I mean, no one's more relatable than Donald Trump, right? Waking up a working class family so many programs that got run this year. It turns out the government does a lot of things including food stamps, subsidized school lunches, the EPA, the USDA, and Smithsonian and National Zoo. And you can tell they're upset about it if you look at the National Zoo's Panda Cam.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tweeted today that President Trump returned to the southern border on Thursday. What do you know? Mexico finally started building that wall.
Down for the first time.
Partial government shutdown enters week three with no end in sight. Politicians how the Fed in Washington could affect the U.S. If Congress and the White House to fund a $4 millions of Americans to receive benefits from the country's food The IRS has also been forced to send home 90% of its employees ahead of its busiest season. That could delay tax refunds.
They just all options is always.
You can look at the left of the board. That's all. The gift shop is closed, and the park police patrol at the Texas area is tracking the pace. We're into the third week now of this government shutdown. 800,000 workers are working without pay. Every day, the government shutdown was
They want to see
January 20th, 2017. Even though that's what's all there. One of the most
and National Gallery are closed. We'll also see nothing of the live
Donald Trump's inaugural address at the Dome,
which ceases broadcasting on
Rusted out
Wednesday.
factories,
Most NASA
scattered like tombstones across the landscape.
scheduled to quote evacuation, rescue,
or the picture mark up front.
This American economy stops right here and stops right now. Thank you, God bless you.
When the speech was over, former President George W. Bush, we heard him say, "That is some weird shit." Donald Trump's presidency was barely half an hour old, and already some were wondering how long it would last. Trump has started to change his ways towards more presidential. Indeed, for 2 years.
We are opposed around the world a monolithic ruthless conspiracy designed primarily on covetousness, understanding sincere interest, preparations of the field of coverage. Foundation of very not a government seal on which the centers of silent reality trade. No expenditure is questioned. No room is spending.
Somebody followers.
Get him out! Get him out!
Frequently done.
Let the punching and defense up there.
And in the White House, he's continued the attack. That's enough. You are somebody spoke yesterday. Lost his contract. A business in Wisconsin is implanting microchips into employees. So what are they tracking? And when you say yes, it's your boss.
This is serious stuff. We're talking about a non-stop potential connection to my body.
Turn off. I can't believe it. After the 2008 war, Johnny Freddy one of Trump's first
Square says their employees cannot be tracked by satellite unless the teammates were skeptical or is not checked.
Yeah, right now it's only by Canada and getting my building, but there's a lot more that's
Frederick says he's known from day one that
Science fiction. That's the concept that Wisconsin company in the square market. But what I don't want to say when I brought this idea to CEO Tom Westby, along with 50 employees implanting microchips the size of a grain of rice between their four fingers and thumbs. Allowing them to stores at work even pay receipts cheaper than that.
radio frequency the same technology widely used in things like cryptocurrencies.
What did it take to persuade the whole house?
Basically, we are doing like what are you doing? There's no fast track and the information call it leveraging. Yes, or anything like that. I would think
It takes just a few seconds and Tony Gunner is standing at the new frontier in technology.
it's pretty amazing. It's so about the world to take this no champion until Mike Trump came along to protect the whole jet instead of
It's chip.
that's the
By next week, at least 50 of its key employees have signed up to become drivers using what's called a RFID transponder in a microchip meant to make the workplace experience faster and more efficient. So when you have a chip, you're just going to over here and all this Westby says they undercut chip. Yes, they do. Yes, you're not going to be tracking your employees around the house.
This is no way well now. It's the efforts to the buildings, logging in the computer and making purchases in our operational market.
Westby says Ynsdks GPS things don't move it down.
To the brand new scale, but with the Democrats controlling the House, John Frederick's runs very much on position to hold Donald Trump himself to all of these things.
You may not even be aware of it, but groundwork is being laid. Those pushing globalism and government control on a global level have mastered the art of hiding it in plain sight and then just dismissing it as a joke. A great example would be this. The United Nations Earth Summit, Agenda 21.
Cell tower going up in your neighborhood? Not now, it is soon. Wireless carriers are installing millions of them across the country to enable you faster 5G cell phone technology. They're locking up outside bedroom windows and school campuses, despite objections from across the country.
I know, it's scientifically that putting up these cell phone towers is safe.
The International Association of Firefighters disagrees. They began opposing cell towers on fire stations after firefighters encountered health problems. Dr. Gunnar Moiser conducted a pilot study on firefighters stations with cell towers. Moiser says their brain scans suggest even low level RF and cell damage. He worries about more vulnerable groups like Following audits by firefighters, look at his co-op their exempted fire stations from their bill. Their one-place cell companies couldn't put it out. This is the first realization I think everyone's aware of, where somebody got their exemption because they were concerned about what? Did they tell you at all about all I know is the firefighters national security advisor Michael Flynn. Because they're strong lobbies. So if, say, school teachers and parents have a strong lobby and they have to find something where the productive is not at their schools,
anger, frustration, and disbelief after Santa Claus suddenly closed more than a chance to 80 stores without a warrant.
What do you mean we're talking about the sudden closure of some stores?
A lot of customers walking off guard as dozens of stores all across the country suddenly closed customers were saying the summit in 1974 where Richard Nixon addressed Americans to announce his resignation. January 1st, was a fabulous conversion for a to a small hole between the college and the summit. The opening officers asked me about a stolen someone every block. 35 is as low as 10. Each no one noticed posted on a bus stands by the midnight today. And every day moving forward. If there's many customers, more employees got any advance warnings. Stores today or will close in about weeks. 4 stores are located in Texas, and 3 of those, like the one behind me, are right here. She was the only female prosecutor assigned.
3 Sam's Club locations now closing across the country. This one on Dale Street in the city of Industry, and one in Stanton and Sylmar. Some point out Sam's Club is giving certain employees bonuses to its tax reform, and wonder if the company appears to be doing well or either downsizing.
Actually, we did a bit to go through quite large droppings and now they're something back. And so we did wonderful things by increasing wages for union employees and the advice that the time is ridiculous. I mean, I could have given them a job, but no, the time is going to skip this one under the fire. There's no strategy here because there's nothing to lose the pressure here. That's like the time to cover up.
Conversations in the Oval Office. Since asking us all those kinds of jobs in the people wanted in burgers. Why? I should probably be like, it's like it always.
Its process react 100 times faster than the air. The stochastic motion is an anti-slimer. Just like any mobile device these days, has cameras and sensors, just like your phones and social media posts, it does facial recognition. Inside here, three brands shape this. This is how it works.
Richard Nixon understood the president. The most confident man who's ever tried to become president. He was not to see that he was really good understanding of what
That is enough to penetrate the skull and destroy the contents.
years ago. This is why I'm saying to you, we don't have the idea how far but there's an unresolved question. Can a sitting president be indicted for a crime? God is not uninvolved in man's freedom.
The very word secrecy is repose in a free, healthy society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, secret proceedings, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be.
Donald J. Trump is conducting his first periodic physical examination in history. He said Donald Trump is not only an excellent physical, a cognitive screening exam using the Montreal Cognitive Assessment was nominated with a score of 30 over 30. Why? It's based on this. The cognitive assessment Donald Trump did assists players with questions like, name these 3 animals. Read a list of 29 letters. Read a list of 5 numbers. And what day was it? Where are you? That's the president. Dr. Hamlet has never examined Donald Trump, but he says even from afar,
organization carried out a small after them. It said that the purpose said black and white excess sub-Saharan
Trump is a personality with a serious personality disorder, some sort of I will faithfully execute all this
as Donald Trump fulfills the presidential U.S. Constitution.
So help me God.
Congratulations to Justice. Let's take one. Representative Tommy Last, a Democrat, is a former constitutional law professor who sits on the judiciary and oversight.
The President of the United States is so unstable. He's so volatile. His decision-making process is so quixotic that he might order nuclear weapon strikes while out of step with U.S. interests.
One more follow-up. There's a theory making rounds in Washington, and they sound like the ultimate conspiracy. It goes, why is Donald Trump with the help of Vice President Mike Pence? Which is both the voices of the man against himself. It's also been announced that maybe the president will resign his plan to or 15 minutes to get pardoned by the Vice President, and then his office. So is that one shift amendment scenario far-fetched? Could it happen? After all we've seen in the past 2 years under President Donald J. Trump and a word of caution is this man will not be running for Trump. The Democrats continue to be obsessed with him and not with changing themselves. Focus on stuff like Russia-Gate and that's what I really worry about, is if we're going to go all the way to 2020, I mean, I thought about this again, and they're going to be after that.
In any case, truth is the first confrontation. And in Donald Trump's war on the media, truth has taken a big hit. His main judgment, the media doesn't tell the truth.
That's enough. Put down the mic. You are the enemy of the people.
It's not like the present and past presidents ever were the best of friends. But the attacks on the media have never been so pointed.
We're not seeing that fake news. That's really the enemy of the people.
We get it. You don't like us. But do we have to put our lives in danger?
Trump may have started this war, but increasingly, American journalists are fighting back.
While our officers are facing an increasingly dangerous environment, we are seeing a growing debate about so-called warrior cops, a term that I've heard, and militarization of police.
The New York Times, arguably one of Trump's favorite targets for his war on the press. Here in Washington, who says fake news?
Maybe there was a day when the there is no octagon that we're not good on CNN and YouTube and my phone. They're not smart enough. There was an unprecedented. We've learned quickly that Trump was tweeting, all hours and sometimes they go even more. The only way you can make it
Ynsdks, the director of the American Civil Liberties Union, has concerns about their surveillance capabilities, especially by law enforcement.
It doesn't take long, and more quotes by someone who
care about privacy about truth because you've got nothing to hide. It's the difference. You don't care about freedom of speech because you've got nothing to say.
From some news source.
That's a fundamental misunderstanding
They'll go drink the sand.
of the nature of
And here in
life.
America, the truth seems to be up for grabs.
Privacy is about actions of power. Privacy is about acts of intent. And that's a free and open society that is liberty.
What is the Trump presidency?
A lot of people
been
are
like?
worried about government agencies spying on them.
Yes.
But they don't seem to be worried about Google or AT&T, who are handling their data, media climates, and in fact, can pretty much whatever they want.
He will go around and pick and choose. Yes, he goes to Fox News, but to his credit, he also goes to CNN. He also goes to CBS.
One of New York's weirdest and most iconic skyscrapers, New York Street, has been a source of mystery for many years. It's now only 5 years to see an reporter. Faceless concrete towers that
Calling the skyscraper the most terrifying building in the world. On Hank Short thinks so. He was taking a stroll in Lower Manhattan when he spotted the building and said, "This is the scariest building I've ever seen. What goes on inside?" He said social media inspiration is the Men in Black reporter. What is it that people find easier? Notice. Not one window on any of its 29 floors. Those aren't windows, they're giant satellites. So what's this? Well, look at how small this is. Part of that turns out the building is owned by the
Footage was altered by
There's reportedly enough water and
then to top it off, the White House revoked the reporter's press pass.
The skyscraper is located at 33 Thomas Street in Lower Manhattan. According to a recent documentary project series, it violating freedom of infrastructure. It also serves as a listening for NSA national security agency.
How severe is it as a reporter you get your prostate?
And just look at the building. It's well, no one knows. It looks like something from the facility is very sensitive to solid temperature. So that's why it has this big vents that you can regulate, like basically a big air example. It's right here. When I walked inside and tried to get more answers, the place was off at
Their president has done this.
It's just how they driving directions. But it's actually the reporter. If our GPS satellites were damaged, it could take down everything from electricity, transportation to our phones. This is like national security It's the same GPS technology that gives us driving directions. Congressman John Garamendi says attacks or interference with GPS technology could take out 911 systems nationwide, like ATM machines and credit cards useless, keep airplanes grounded, and even disrupt the country's elections. He says last year's GPS spoofing attack made it appear as though only 40% of the traffic were instead at Sochi Airport. Another potential danger? GPS jamming devices have ships won't be able to dock. Dr. William Cressy, a fellow at Governor State University, points to a 2017 incident. A worker made a Boston's GPS tracker on a company truck used a jamming device while at Newark Airport. The device hit the airport. Planes could not take off or land. Cressy says GPS jammers can actually be purchased online.
Let's not forget ourselves. Sometimes wonder about the sale and use of GPS jammers. They are being abused.
GPS jammers, he says, can shut down alarm systems on ATM machines, creating havoc with financial markets.
We are one of the only countries in the world that does not have access to the under-based backup system.
Countries like China and Russia have backup systems in case of attacks or failures. The U.S. does not strategy.
Because it needs to places on Earth. It's a bunker built into a hollowed out mountain in Colorado. It's just one of the top secret shelters that 7,000 Americans will go to.
With the next election,
Oh, yeah. Because
there's no room for families. Wide factions not included.
with hard plans to be gathered, you want to do your job and how you want. That is how to combat fake news. And it doesn't include.
there are no Trump rallies scheduled for the coming week.
Raven Rock.
But with 66 million Twitter followers, President Trump doesn't exactly need to leave his living room to keep his war on the media going.
This is the Mount Weather facility about 60 miles west of Washington, D.C. And it looks like a typical secure facility. It is surrounded by a chain link fence with a barbed wire at the top.
What are you talking at there?
Armed security patrol the entrance to a doomsday bunker that is reserved for the wealthy elite.
Since the election of Donald Trump, we've seen a whole new demographic of people calling, people who didn't know who was listening before.
Larry Hall is the owner of the Survival Condo Project. These 16,000-pound doors lock you inside. We're heading deep below the surface of the Earth into an underground bunker like no other.
We are in a typical full-floor residential unit, and even though we are more than 100 feet underground right now, you can see that it's certainly not a claustrophobic area.
12 luxurious condos exist here with fireplaces, high-end appliances, jacuzzis, even windows. Yes, windows. High-definition TVs broadcast a live feed of the outside world right into your living room. And look at this. It's a swimming pool with a slide and waterfall. Other common areas include a movie theater, rock climbing wall, and shooting range. There's even a farm that grows all the fresh fruits and vegetables you'll need.
This can grow up to 70 different species of plants, lettuces, tomatoes, carrots.
The bunker runs on power sources like wind and diesel generators.
We have enough fuel to run these diesels for 2.5 years.
share with us the names of some people that missed?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
That might be what this is all about. Your right to privacy, the limits of your right to privacy, and how much you give away in modern America in the name of, quote, connecting people around the world.
I hear a warning about Facebook and what some believe it's doing to kids. The warning comes from two of the company's earliest executives.
We kind of knew something bad could happen.
Chubak Palihapitiya, a former Facebook executive once in charge of user growth, now says he has tremendous guilt about the social network he helped build.
We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works.
Former Facebook President Sean Parker recently said the initial goal was to get people hooked.
You're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. The inventors, creators understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
People need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. Bad actors can now manipulate large swaths of people to do anything you want.
We know that Google is tracking us. We agree to it when we set up our phones. So we wanted to figure out what exactly Google is learning about us throughout the day. So here's what we're going to do. We have two identical phones. The only difference between these two phones is this one is in airplane mode. Both of the phones lack a SIM card, and they haven't been set up to access any Wi-Fi networks. So for all intents and purposes, these phones have no connection to a data network. We're going to keep them with us throughout the day. And while I travel around DC, we're going to figure out just what Google is finding out about me. Our tour around town was a 14-mile journey that lasted more than an hour. The entire time, the phones had no access to the internet. Not a Wi-Fi connection, and not any cellular data service. It almost seemed quaint to assume that Google wouldn't even be able to collect data on me. Both of the phones, exactly how we left with them. Let's find out what they know. This is our man-in-the-middle device. It's basically a Wi-Fi network that these phones are going to connect to once we turn their Wi-Fi on. It's going to pass data through it on the way to Google. But on the way, we're actually going to get a copy of the same data that Google's going to get. We'll be able to decrypt it and then find out where we've been throughout the day. Within minutes, the numbers rolled in. The phone that wasn't on airplane mode registered more than 100 locations, 130 activities, and even 152 barometric readings. As soon as it hooked up to our Wi-Fi, it transmitted 300 kilobytes of data straight to Google. The phone even logged our exact locations, tracking us all around town, the Capitol, the hospital, the school, and the cathedral. Now you may notice what's missing here is the exact route that we took, but it got that data too. It knows when I got out of the car. The metadata has a time log down to the very second, tracking everything. When they think that you're walking, riding, and yes, even getting out of the car. Okay, so you're thinking, this isn't a big deal, I'll just put my phone in airplane mode. Yeah, we thought of that too. This is the other phone that we had with us that no SIM card, also remained in airplane mode the entire time. Let's see what kind of data it captured. The phone with airplane mode activated actually logged more locations and activities than the other phone, and it also transferred hundreds of kilobytes of data to Google as soon as it was activated. The only thing that's missing from this map is our stop at the Children's Hospital, but it still knows we were there. There it is. Exiting vehicle, 100% accuracy. Through complicated user agreements and free software, Google gets users to sign away their privacy for nothing.
The fallout is already hurting Facebook. A billionaire tech entrepreneur Elon Musk deleted his personal page and those for his SpaceX and Tesla car ventures. WikiLeaks editor Julian Assange has also latched out to the social network on Twitter. Others are rushing to do the same too, with the hashtag #DeleteFacebook trending.
When significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to a device, they're turning to social media, they're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook.
1 billion of us own a smartphone, and we know how addicting it can be. One former Google employee says, this is no accident. Indeed, it is by design.
Have you noticed if you ever log into Twitter as an example? So there's an extra delay that you don't know how long it's going to take, between 2 and 3 seconds, where the number of new notifications is coming in. So why is that there? Well, it makes that into what's called a variable schedule, where it's like a slot machine. So you're playing the slot machine, and there's a time delay, and in that time delay, your anticipation is building, and then you get to see how many notifications I get. And so you become more addicted to checking it again the next time.
It sounds like there's just a lot of sort of trickery going on here.
I call it the race to the bottom of the brainstem to, get people's attention else. Never before in history have 50 mostly male 20 to 35-year-old designers living in California working at 3 tech companies influenced how a billion people spend their time.
In a 2009 interview with the longtime CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, who, when asked about all the different ways his company is causing invasions of privacy for hundreds of millions of people around the world, said this. He said, if you're doing something that you don't want other people to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Now, there's all kinds of things to say about that mentality. The first of which is that the people who say that privacy isn't really important, they don't actually believe it. The very same Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, ordered his employees at Google to cease speaking with the online internet magazine CNET after CNET published an article full of personal, private information about Eric Schmidt, which it obtained exclusively through Google searches and using other Google products. This same division can be seen with the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, who in an infamous interview in 2010 pronounced that privacy is no longer a, quote, social norm. Last year, Mark Zuckerberg and his new wife purchased not only their own house, but also all 4 adjacent houses in Palo Alto for a total of $30 million in order to ensure that they enjoyed a zone of privacy that prevented other people from monitoring what they do in their personal lives.
When Facebook was getting going, I had these people who would come up to me and they would say, I'm not on social media. And I would say, okay, you will be. And then they would say, no, I value my real life interactions, I value the moment, I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector, that's okay. You don't have to participate, but we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying.
So, before we move off this privacy thing, can you explain what this instant personalization thing was that you did, and why you did it, and what's the value of it to your users?
Yeah, should you?
Hey, go ahead.
Not even yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a thick hoodie. It's a company hoodie. We print our mission on the inside.
What? Oh, really? On the inside of the hoodie, everybody. What is it? Making the
world more.
Oh my God! It's like a secret vault. Look at that! Making the world open and connected. Stream graph platform, and this weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati.
question basically what information Facebook's collecting, who they're sending it to, and whether they were asked in advance by permission to do that. Is that a fair thing for a user of Facebook to expect?
Yes, Senator. I think everyone should have control over how their information is used. And as we've talked about in some of the other questions, I think that is laid out in some of the documents. But more importantly, you want to give people control in the product itself. So the most important way that this happens across our services is that every day people come to our services to choose to share photos or send messages. And every single time they choose to share something, they have a control right there about who they want to share it. But that level of control is extremely important.
They certainly know within the Facebook pages who their friends are, but they may not know, as happened, and you can see this in the past, that sometimes that information is going way beyond their friends, and sometimes people have made money off of sharing that information.
In Kenya, we're tracking a great split in the country. Drone footage has dramatically revealed massive earth movements that have ripped apart the landscape southwest of Nairobi. Geologists say Kenya is splitting along the Rift Valley after massive earth movements. The split in Narok County is as wide as 20 meters in parts and 60 meters at its deepest.
Geologists are warning of a huge crack in Kenya's Rift Valley. Could be showing signs that the continent is splitting. The power of nature, eh?
Guys, what is going on?
Strange sounds are being heard around the world. In Sweden, this sure sounds like a trumpet. In Michigan, another trumpet-like sound. What is going on out there? Bizarre sounds are being heard all over. The latest is this creepy high-pitched noise.
It's like a real-life X-Files. This is where the jarring sound was first reported. As you can tell, it's normally a lovely, quiet neighborhood. But for the past 2 weeks, residents have been on edge because they don't know what the ear-splitting sound is or where it's coming from.
Police Captain Mike Hurst has received email queries from all over the world,
suggesting this sound would be everything from movement of tectonic plates to these bombs to the sound of an alien mothership.
sound terrified a town in British Columbia. This was heard in Finland. And this piercing high-pitched sound was recorded in Michigan. As for the strange sound in Oregon, I asked acoustic engineer Tobin Cooley to analyze it.
Probably electrical, mechanical, gas, air.
But even he can't explain it.
I don't think anyone knows what it is yet, but that's probably what makes it different.
In British Columbia, Canada, Dr. Glenn McPherson says he heard a strange humming sound in his home. First, he thought it was an appliance.
Ultimately, I cut the power to the entire house, and the sound got loud.
And he discovered he was not alone.
This is in fact a worldwide phenomenon, and I'm calling it the worldwide hum.
Check out his Hum App Data project. To date, some 70,000 civilians and scientists from around the world call themselves Hummers have reached out to him, saying they heard the same thing. Here's the thing, the mysterious hum could be caused by low frequency sound waves. Now listen to these strange booms that sound almost from another planet.
It's one of the rarest things I've ever heard of.
It was another overcast and windy winter day in Draper when a not so normal thing happened.
As I was driving, these birds just were falling out of the sky.
Lacey Brown was one of the people who saw things firsthand.
They were all on the ground right around here and along the roadway. They were just falling out of the sky like leaves.
But they weren't leaves. They were hundreds of small birds called starlings.
So what would cause hundreds of birds to fall from the sky? Some people are saying aliens. Others are saying maybe it was lightning, maybe it was poison. But in this circumstance, none of this is the case.
No aliens, no cloaking device, no poison. It's one of those freak things that the person flying along, crash into the side of a large vehicle, and
if we don't have strength, we don't have a country. People are flowing across. You have to take care of our people. I don't like the idea of using executive orders like our president. It is a disaster what he's doing. I would build consensus, but consensus means you have to work hard, you have to cajole, you have to get them into the Oval Office and get them all together, and you have to make deals. Let me just tell you, I mentioned before, China, big Chinese company bought the Chicago Exchange. Kerry is moving, and if you saw the people, because they have a video of the announcement that Kerry is moving in the next day, I'll tell you what, I would go right now to Kerry, and I would say, I'm going to work awfully hard. You're going to make air conditioning.
Frame site at some ski resorts in Eastern Europe. This isn't one of those typical optical illusions. It's actually orange snow. People have been sharing photos of the phenomenon on social media, like these shots from Russia.
Right now, I'm going to get consensus from Congress, and we're going to tax you with those air conditioners. So stay where you are or build in the United States. Because we are killing us with trade backs that are no good for us and no good for our workers. There's what I have to say. As a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world. I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have. So, let me just say, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, and so obviously, to the war in Iraq.
What was it? Take a look at the mysterious light in the sky. There you see it, followed by a loud boom that riots in San Jose neighborhoods. The majority of the people that witnessed it lived near Brandon High School off 85 and Alberton Expressway.
We simply don't know what it is, but most people told us it was louder than any firework they've ever heard. They say they felt it inside their homes. One thing is clear tonight that this has now become the top of at least several San Jose neighborhoods.
You can see this is coming from way over on this side.
This video posted to a South San Jose Next Door page shows a small light travel across the sky for about a minute, then a flash and boom, and it disappeared. Dale Johnson says it shook windows and set off car alarms Sunday just before midnight.
New Year's Eve, there's always some mortars or M100s or even M1000s going off around here. We know what those sound. This was nuts.
He's not alone. Next door had more than 120 comments. People saying it sounded like it was right outside their front door.
I thought at first that maybe it was the transporter boom, but we've had that happen before and it wasn't that.
The last word, pretty far away too. We asked the FAA if they could identify the flying object. A spokesperson didn't want to guess, but said it did not look like any aircraft operation.
Right now, you have Russia.
A huge boom. Nobody can figure out exactly what it was just yet.
Yeah, so I want to show you this. Our viewer Trina, and thank you for this, sent this video from Oakland. Look at this. So it's just like the whole sky kind of lights up. There are reports of a loud boom and a big flash from 8 o'clock last night in the Grace Harbor County area.
And we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in a
explosion or maybe some sort of loud noise that would wake people up in the middle of the night and nobody can figure out what it is.
Wheat Ridge police say their own officers have heard it too, and they're now asking for help. Ms. Jamardi has this bizarre story.
I've heard them constantly. They go from me every few times.
Startling residents out of their sleep, shaking homes, setting off car alarms. But what is it?
To me, it sounds like a very large explosion, like an overhead firework.
No one really seems to know. Jerry Tulio is the Wheat Ridge treasurer. He's been tracking the moves and says it's not just an isolated incident.
Around 31st and Pierce, 32nd and Ingalls, 38th and Allison, and also down there 46th and Reed.
And he says it's been going on since July.
It's usually one explosion after midnight and then they're done.
The hottest desert in the world isn't the place you'd expect to see snow, but the white stuff has fallen in the Sahara Desert. The sand dunes were lightly dusting around 40 centimeters of snow as temperatures hit 1 degree Celsius. The rare site melted away by the afternoon. What an extraordinary sight there in the Sahara. So it stayed longer than they expected. It stayed around all day.
It's weak to denigrate the disabled. And it's really weak to call John McCain a loser because he was a... I never told him. That is outrageous. He's an American hero. He also said about language. I've laid out my plan. He said about language, right? 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody. And that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that. And then he tells me, oh, my language was a little bit rough. My language ain't right.
Very, very little. For most of his life, he has described himself as very pro-choice and as a supporter of partial birth abortion. Right now, today, as a candidate, he supports federal taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood. I disagree with him on that. That's a matter of principle, and I'm biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeff.
So many people in Sweden are lining up to get these microchips that the country's main shipping company says that it can't even keep up with the number of requests.
Really?
What in the...
I would do that.
What in the Illuminati mark of the beast witch crap is going on over there in Sweden?
And Steve, what's happening here? I don't want to get biblical, but you know, I've heard about this mark of the beast business my whole life. I think it's true. I think biblical prophecy. The more I'm hearing about this, everything we do. So we can talk about this, but this isn't coming.
It's here. And in China, this is the tip of the proverbial iceberg.
You're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work.
Couldn't sleep,
You hired
so I came to the church.
In the middle of the night, Pastor John Gray took to Instagram to speak with his followers about the anniversary gift he gave his wife of 8 years.
Pastor John Gray, he leads the Relentless Church down in South Carolina. It's an evangelical megachurch with some 22,000 members, many of whom weren't so happy when they learned of his very generous gift.
This morning, outrage at the pulpit.
Get that in your spirit.
John Gray, a megachurch pastor in Greenville, South Carolina, speaking out after facing fierce criticism for buying his wife a $200,000 Lamborghini.
First of all, it wasn't a pastor that bought the car. It was a husband that bought the car. And I won't ask permission from anybody to do it.
Video surfaced this week of the pastor presenting the car to his wife in celebration of their 8-year wedding anniversary. But the image was soon taken down after a response to the pastor went viral. Gray says the money comes from his book deals and from his reality TV show, The Book of John Gray, on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Gray is a former associate pastor at Joel Osteen's mega church in Houston. Osteen, who lives in a $10 million mansion, famous for preaching the gospel of prosperity. Gray echoing that message, saying he deserves everything he's got.
This story has plenty of people talking with mixed opinions on social media. Right now on our Facebook page, David writes, I believe this is between him and God. Let us not judge him as all of our days it is will come to stand before Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, Donald says, my understanding is he's a New York Times bestseller. This is just like everything else. People are mad at him because they can't be him. We also have a poll right now on our Facebook page asking you what you think about that purchase. So far, close to 11,000 people have already voted, and right now about 75% of them say that gift was inappropriate. The other 25% don't have a problem with it.
Has China declared war on Christianity?
Yes.
Fang Gongwan, a leading expert on religion in China, says what started several years ago as a small government campaign against unregistered churches has turned into all-out war.
The campaign was first experimented in Zhejiang province in 2014 to 2016. Now it has become a nationwide campaign.
A campaign where authorities routinely target houses of worship, destroy crosses, burn Bibles, and arrest pastors.
$1 million and I turned it into $10 million. I borrowed $1 million.
On December 9th, authorities in the city of Chengdu arrested prominent Christian pastor Wang Yi along with his wife, 100 members of Early Rain Covenant Church. Authorities shut down the church and charged Pastor Wang with inciting subversion of state power. He and his wife could face up to 15 years in prison if convicted.
Well, Chinese authorities have developed a new surveillance tool. It's called the gait recognition. It's a software that can identify people using their body shapes and how they walk. Even if your face is hidden from a camera, this is already in fact being used by police in China, and it's raising a lot of concerns about how far this technology will go and how deep will this deep brother thing go in the country.
The biggest problem he's got is he really doesn't about the lines. The biggest thing we've got, and the reason we have no competition, is because we have lines around the states, and you have we already mentioned that.
Another thing they have is called the social credit system, and it doesn't allow you to be a bad citizen. It's going to go into place in 2020, but already I've read that they generated 7 million punishment. So this is sort of the scary stuff. We've read about it for a long time, but it's coming into existence.
Yeah, I think this is new totalitarianism, and we've got to put this in a historical context. I mean, you can imagine what this kind of technology would be used under a Lenin or a Mao. Unfortunately, the trajectory of human rights and freedom in China is going the wrong way. We've seen Xi Jinping in many ways take a plays out of Mao's playbook. So I think this is incredibly disturbing.
Improving lives, increasing connectivity across the world. That's the great promise offered by data-driven technology. But in China, it also promises greater state control and abuse of power. This is the next groundbreaking development in data-driven technology, facial recognition. And in China, you can already withdraw cash, check in at airports, and pay for goods using just your face. The country is the world's leader in the use of this emerging technology. And China's many artificial intelligence startups are determined to keep it that way in the future. Companies like YouTube,
we're pioneering artificial intelligence research and innovation in the hope of creating a safer, faster, and healthier world.
YouTube is creating the building blocks for a smart city of the future, where facial recognition is part of everyday life. This could even extend to detecting what people are thinking.
Facial recognition can read people's emotions, and we are actually now working on these innovative demonstrations and technology.
But the Chinese government has plans to use this new biometric technology to cement its authoritarian rule. The country has ambitious plans to develop a vast national surveillance system based on facial recognition. It will be used to monitor its 1.4 billion citizens in unprecedented ways, with the capability of tracking everything from their emotions to their sexuality.
what you buy, how you spend your time, if you jaywalk, if you smoke on a train, if you criticize the government, even a family of friends. I mean, this is...
It's going to track what apps you're on your phone. It is Big Brother writ large, and if you think about the steps that Venezuela, Russia, and China are taking to implement their own cryptocurrencies, by 2020, I suspect they will be able to track their citizens' every economic move. I mean, the disparagement of economic freedom, of personal liberty. I mean, just when you think that China is so strong and it clamps down so much, if there's an economic slowdown coming, they're going to have to maintain social order.
Thousands of people in Sweden have opted to trade in their ID and their credit cards for tiny microchips that would be implanted like underneath their skin.
Yeah, these chips are supposed to take the place of key cards, rail cards, credit cards.
The chips are typically the size of a grain of rice and are implanted just under the skin between the thumb and forefinger. These seeds are lining up to get the microchips that the country's main chipping company says it can't keep up with the number of requests.
The future is a wave of a hand away. In case you missed it, here it is again. This is a whole new level of security. No keys or access cards, difficult to steal and copy, but the technology requires a certain level of commitment that's not for the faint-hearted. So this is where the microchip implant story begins, for those who want them at least.
Banking, security, general users, contactless payments, passport data, all this stored on these microchips and embedded in your hand. It comes down to convenience, I suppose, for a lot of people. It's very hard to lose your hand.
This is one of several implant firms reportedly in discussions with British financial and legal companies. The names of the companies are being closely guarded.
For our country. We want to make America great again, and Jeb, in all fairness, he doesn't. Language. 2 days ago, he said...
Worries microchipping could eventually become the new normal. Societies embrace the mobile phone, making us easy to track on a daily basis. But by implanting microchips, there may be few places left to truly escape from technology.
I'm just not even feeling comfortable. Although there's microchips in pets, so I mean it's not unheard of, you know. But
I have a close friend who's actually a TV meteorologist in Sweden. I actually need to give her a call.
You need to talk to her.
Find out if that really is.
Yeah, why don't you do a little Skype? I want to learn more.
Any signs you think that someday we may have to grapple with these issues too? I believe at some point we may. Maybe not to this degree, but it's a technology that would look enticing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all creeped out a little bit about what Facebook and Google can do.
Last week, the journal Science published a study by Vanderbilt University Medical Center. It advocates for the creation, get this, of a universal, nationwide DNA database, including you and me and everybody else. The study advocates for the United States to also join the ranks of the UK, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, all countries that have been fiddling with this idea of creating this type of super system with genetic information from every and all societies. This study also submits that building this universal DNA database, you know that swab thing that they send you that we've all done, or sometimes police ask you to do, would actually result in more privacy. Now, if to you that sounds counterintuitive, you're certainly not alone, because maybe what we should be asking is, where is that swab I gave for my DNA test going? Who has it? What are they doing with it? Who are they sharing it?
What could be the world's first designer babies. That's the claim of a Chinese researcher who says that he created gene-edited twins.
Overnight, an astonishing and dubious claim. A scientist in China saying he created the world's first genetically engineered babies.
Two beautiful little Chinese girls named Lulu and Lana came crying into the world as healthy as any other baby.
Technology to genetically edit human embryos has been around for a while, but scientists were unwilling to cross that ethical line until now.
I believe family need this technology, and I am willing to take the criticism. for them.
The university where the researcher has worked is calling for an investigation, saying he has been on unpaid leave and officials were unaware of the research project and its nature.
So creating these genetically modified babies, allegedly, that happened is being called dangerous and unethical.
And with this story, it's not a question of whether this could be done at all. It's a question of if, when, why, and how. And let me just tell you what we're talking about. It's a technique called CRISPR, gene editing. You take a strand of DNA, which codes for genes, and this CRISPR actually works like a scissors, removes the gene, and then this DNA heals itself. So whatever this gene codes for, a disease, a condition, in theory, maybe even other things like hair color, is now gone.
If they really understood the full consequences of what was being done.
It's amazing. One person making a decision to affect.
One person changing the genetic code of the human race for generations. For generations.
How stupid the American...
It's helping to identify wanted suspects in real time. What worries some people here is that as the technology develops, so too does the capacity for it to be abused.
那么所有的人在这个生活当中都处在严密的监控之下你不能做任何政府不喜欢的事情如果是这样的话，我个人认为是相当进入一个极权主义的一个状态，这是一个很恐怖的状态。
Already the authorities are using facial recognition to name and shame citizens. Even for minor offences like jaywalking.
We had robocalls saying Donald Trump is not going to run in South Carolina.
And in China, this is the tip of the proverbial iceberg because their plan is that by 2021, they're going to have 600 million cameras all over the country. Every citizen, seriously, every citizen will be tracked and they're going to be given a score. They're going to be given a behavioral score. And if the score is good, if you act good, you get perks like better transit, better transportation, at a hospital, a gym membership. If you're bad, you get put on a blacklist and you suffer problems with travel and other issues. I mean, that's Orwellian as it gets.
This is going on now. In fact, have you ever noticed here in New York City, where I am and you are, do you know that whenever there is any murder anywhere, any suspect, we always have a picture of him. And nobody ever says, are there cameras on every corner? Yes. And let me also tell you something. For those of you who are trying to get your credit scores okay, your FICO and this FICO and that, there are going to be new algorithms, seriously, that are going to base your credit worthiness not so much on your payment history and all of the usual factors, but who your friends are, how long you are online. Do you ever get anything from Apple, which I do, that says, here's your productivity. This is how long you've been either on your phone or wasting your time. Steve, this is not the future. We live in a 24/7 real-time panopticon. We are watched every step of the way. And what scares me even more is not that we're talking about this, but that the newer generations who were born in captivity don't have any appreciation for this thing that you call Orwellian, this dystopian horror story that's been written.
And that's great. That is a great, seriously, all kidding aside, born into captivity or born in captivity, that is a great way to put it.
His sermons, many of them widely circulated on social media, soon made him a rising star and an important player in the Christian revival that was sweeping China. All that has come to a screeching halt with his arrest and the closure of the church. Still, members of his congregation vowed to keep meeting if he would have the rest of the
Even if he would have won, it would have been bad. He doesn't have what it takes to be president.
Tremendous investment just sucking out of our country. China says they don't have that good of control.
Without checks and balances, China will keep finding new ways to violate the human rights of its citizens. What's already happening is a warning the rest of the world must heed.
Control, practically, of North Korea. They are sucking trillions of dollars out of our country. They're reaping China with the money they take out of our country. I would get on with China. Let China solve that problem. They can do it quickly and surgically. That's what we should do with North Korea.
Thank you for my endorsement.
said, Nick, drop DNA, she would have dropped to his knees.
I want everybody to go and support Kamala Harris. She is a Senator, United States Senator out of California. HBCU graduate. We are really, really proud that she has announced her candidacy to run for president of the United States. I believe her. She is awesome. I watch her on the Judiciary Committee ask tough questions to people that's being put in office. You know, if she wins, she will be the first woman president, first black woman president, and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So this boy, Ricky Smiley, represent. Hey, make sure y'all go out and check out Kamala Harris and follow her on Instagram and show her some love and support. Let's get back out.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Random Bullshit. And yes, today we're going to talk about Ricky Smiley. See, in my last video, one of the last videos I made a video about Kamala Harris. And at the end of that video, I said that they were on ball to pull off one of the biggest con jobs on black voters in this country, especially black women. Now, in that video that Ricky Smiley posted, that video, the majority of his followers are black females. Black females are probably the largest voting bloc in the Democratic Party. And it's enough of them. It's very difficult for anybody else. Just that voting bloc alone it will make it very difficult for anybody else to win a primary if they can get the majority of those voters to vote for a Pacific candidate, especially in Pacific regions of this country. And so Ricky Smiley is off to the races. And see, I'm not surprised people like him made this video because he has been leading black people, especially black women, through a river of poisonous water for a very, very long time. And he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's willing to do it. And he's compensated very well for doing it because he knows if he don't throw black people under the bus, then it's back to the ghetto for Ricky. See, it's people like him that make it very difficult for the average, everyday black person, especially black men in this country, to succeed because it's Negroes like him that are working against us, and this video proves it. Not one time did he mention any of Kamala Harris's policies or her record when she was Attorney General of the state of California. Now, in one of my previous videos, I read some of the things that this woman did where she could have wrote some wrongs that were going on in the justice system in the state of California, and she chose not to. She left innocent men in prison as Attorney General of California when she knew that the only reason why they were in her because of malpractice for prosecuting attorneys. And that she could have easily written those wrongs, but instead she used the technicality on these people to keep them in jail because they didn't file or contest this stuff at the right amount of time when they supposed to have done it. One guy was representing himself, so how the fuck would he know? But this is the stuff that come out of him, is that he's going out telling people to send her money. Without one time did he talk about any of her policies, what does she stand for, or anything else, just send her money, because that's his sorority sister. And I know I said sorority sister because these bitches like him is why we're in this situation. And I hope one of his goons or anybody else out there watches this video and give it to his punk ass. Ricky Smiley, he mentioned that Kamala Harris asked tough questions in the Judiciary Committee. What's the point of, and I know who he was talking about which he was asking Jeff Beauregard, Jim Crow Sessions III questions during his judiciary hearing. But the sad thing about it, what's the point of asking tough questions when the dude still got confirmed? Now, one time did you mention a policy? We all know the reason why Steve Mnuchin is not in prison. This man stole millions of dollars from people. Millions of dollars he stole from people, and this dude's walking around free. And Kamala Harris could have put him in jail, but she didn't. But she let him. But she's letting right now to this day, she's letting innocent men sit and rot in California State Prison. But Ricky Smiley didn't mention that. If I know this information, I know that he has more resources than I do. He chose to do it because he's getting compensated for doing it. But he is willing and ready to lead black people to a point.
I have to say, folks,
he's been doing it for a very long time. And now it's time for people to start calling this bitch ass dude out on his phone. Period. So this is for you, Ricky Smiley. Before you ask people that don't have no money to send this bitch friend of yours some goddamn money, won't you show us or tell us where she stands, what are her policies, what the fuck is she gonna do for black folks? Because the last time I checked, she ain't no African American. And stop saying that. And I wish people really stop saying this bitch is not an African American woman. Her mama is Indian and her daddy is Jamaican. This bitch is not an African American. She's not a descendant of a slave in the United States. Let's get that. Let's get that clear. And when she was asked about her fucking race, she claimed she was Indian. Only time she's even bring up African American woman is when it's convenient for her. God damn. Hate making videos like this. But I'm sick and tired of these faggot ass motherfuckers like him go around throwing black people under the bus. We're the most vulnerable group of people in this country. He won't do that to, he won't go throw poor white people under the bus. He won't go throw poor Mexicans under the bus. He won't go throw poor Asians under the bus. The only people he's willing to throw under the bus is the descendant slaves in this country. He's been doing it for a very long time. Just by watching the video shows me either Ricky Smiley has no clue about politics, or he's just flat out playing his followers that's going to watch the video like button as morons and simpletons. I'm going to tell you right now, if you or anybody out there that can remotely vote in the Democratic Party or anything else, Kamala Harris does not have your best intentions. Do not send this bitch any money. Let her corporate donors support her campaign. Because when it's time to legislate and agree on policies, she's only going to agree with legislation that benefits her donors, her corporate donors. And Ricky Smiley knows this. He knows this. It's really sick. It's really disgusting. But yeah, Ricky Smiley. Shame on you, man. Some bitch ass shit. This has been another episode of random bullshit. If you like the content, feel free to share it. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to contribute to the channel to make Ynsdks TV bigger and better, you can hit the links. The links will be below. And they were very nice. Peace, man. I'm out.
from a Donald Trump White House for Black America? And the answer is real simple. You can expect exactly what you got from an Obama White House. Absolutely nothing. Black people know they're not American. Just like that. Fight out there and protect that identity. This is the popular nominee of who they really are. As long as you have a skill, you can always feed your family. But if all you got is college degrees, you might end up in an unemployment market. I'm a psychologist. Entering black people right
look at what China is doing to our psychologists. They're using our country as a piggyback to rebuild China. Under my plan, I'll be reducing taxes tremendously.
And the kind of plan that Donald has put forward would be trickle-down economics all over again. I call it trumped up trickle-down.
Things have blown up. And so many people jumped on saying,
My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics. That's the kind of content to see if it works.
These countries are really very special political science, psychology, and school psychology. Subsequent to that, Pennsylvania certification as a school psychologist, which I've been for almost 20 years. After that, I got my educational leadership master's degree, principal certificate
Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
American Psychological Association approved program, one of the top psychology training programs on the East Coast. 60 million in all, and anyone can live up the telephone and call, verify the
so when you see folks
Actually, Secretary of State, and I have done
degrees, your response. It's because my narrative is a whole lot different from the average black child. I don't inherit the narrative that the American social order.
And you will see devastation. Now, you want to approve Trans-Pacific Partnership. You were totally in favor of it. Then you heard what I was saying out there. And you said, okay, well, that's debate. But you know that if you can't win, that will be over.
Positive, non-traditional views. People will automatically start to question his credentials. How did he get this far? Believing when he believes. Well, you have to prove that by the door. When I got accepted to the university, they didn't know what I was. They didn't know what I stood for. But as time went on, it revealed itself. I'm unapologetically African, so I'm not really concerned with what people think about me personally.
It's called Stronger
I have a job to do, and I just go to awaken sleeping consciousness of African people, not just in America, but all across the world.
one of the things that Mandarin was one of the official languages in South Africa.
Yes, sir.
And others said you were dead wrong.
If you want to see it in real time,
all the different things are
official
language in the public school system of South Africa. So I should have clarified that. Mandarin is an official language of the Republic of South Africa school system. It's not an official language in the country, it's an official language in the school system. And I'm speaking of schools, but I should clarify that.
Also, during that particular interview, you talked about the issue, and also people talking, one of them dealt with the interracial background.
Yes, sir.
And so, to explain that for folks who did not
Any black man who is with a woman who's not an African herself is going to have a difficult time getting respect from people. Black men is black women. The black family is under attack. One out of every 4 black women gets married. The black woman is last likely to get married. She's the last married. The first divorce. We have what? 2/3 of our children being raised by working class and impoverished single black female led households. The destruction of the nation begins in all of these families. And if we're going to save black people, we have to save the black family. So in order to do that, black
income tax. So if he's I made a mistake using a private email.
This program had known for 8 years that Kamala Harris was going to run for president. And so we're not surprised when Senator Harris officially announced her candidacy for presidency today, because when she made her very first appearance on the MSNBC, which was on this program, I introduced her as a future presidential candidate. She was then the district attorney of San Francisco, and I had seen Kamala Harris campaigning earlier that year for Attorney General of California, and the politician she reminded me of most then was Barack Obama, who was, of course, then the President of the United States. Republican strategist Karl Rove had the same reaction I did, which is why he helped pour money into a campaign to try to defeat Kamala Harris for Attorney General, because Karl Rove could see that if Kamala Harris won a statewide office in California, there would be no stopping her rise in national politics. And he was right. Kamala Harris won the Attorney General election in a close one. And a few years later, when California Senator Barbara Boxer decided she wasn't going to run for re-election, as I predicted, Kamala Harris ran for Senate and won. And right on schedule, as predicted here ago, Kamala Harris is now running for president. And she is one of the few candidates in a high competitive field that does not yet have a clear front runner among the announced candidates. Senator Harris had her first campaign press conference today in Washington, D.C. at her alma mater, Howard University, and she explained why.
You talk about how that university is one of the most important aspects of my life, and it is where I first ran for my first elected office, which was freshman class representative of the Liberal Arts Student Council at Howard University. So this is where it all began.
Senator Harris was asked about President Trump's withdrawal from Syria. She expressed no disagreement with the policy, but said she's concerned about the process or lack of process the president uses in such impulsive decisions, and objected to what she called foreign policy through tweets. She was asked the usual horse race questions by reporters about her so-called path to victory.
Yes, I did.
And she was asked a question.
But you're also Indian American.
Indeed. Did you read my book? How do I find myself as a proud American?
She fielded questions from reporters, but more importantly, got to take questions from real Iowa voters.
Well, I hope the fact check.
I would love to hear more about the environment.
Will join us on the launch of these two new presidential campaigns, and will be joined by presidential candidates
in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee. He can talk to me about stamina.
The world. Let me tell you. Hillary has experience.
So, one question I've not heard you answer.
There have been so many bad deals through the last. Somebody who's been very vicious to me, Rosie O'Donnell.
Senator, I believe that CIA officer
that she deserves it, and nobody feels sorry for her.
It's a yes or no answer. Do you believe previous interrogation techniques were immoral? I'm not asking if you believe they were legal. I'm asking if you believe they were immoral.
You brag that you have sexually assaulted women.
Senator, I believe that CIA did extraordinary work to prevent another attack on this country, given the legal tools that we were authorized.
Do you believe in hindsight that those techniques were immoral?
Senator, what I believe sitting here today is that I support the higher moral standards we've decided to hold ourselves to.
Here's this question. You know, with prior Republican nominees for president, I disagreed with them. Now, these principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve.
Senator, I believe that we should hold ourselves to the moral standard outlined in the article.
I said starting back in June that he was not fit to be president. So I understand that you, from previous answers, are serving as the authority over whether or not CIA information concerning you will be classified or not. Given an obvious appearance of conflict,
in this nation that's been so abusive
will
to
you
women.
agree to remove yourself
Those same women.
from the responsibility and the authority to make decisions about whether or not that information will be classified or not? Will you agree to remove yourself of that responsibility and authority? Yes or no?
Senator, I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama
Declassification authority. It's called the IRO. I have not interfered with. Do you believe that you have the authority to accuse yourself?
I'll take that for the record. I may have the authority to recuse myself. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure.
Assuming you do, I believe you do.
To look into your situation.
Will you agree to recuse yourself from the responsibility and the authority of making decisions about what CIA information about you and your organization will be classified or not?
Senator, if I had agreed with the proposals that have come up to, because people thought it would be advantageous to me, I think I would have been abdicating my responsibility to follow the rules that everyone at Donald Trump is not in charge.
Okay, but you also inherently have a responsibility to ask and answer the questions that are being asked. I'm going to ask you a different question. Would you agree that given this appearance of conflict, please around classification, declassification, that would you agree that Director Clerk instead of having responsibility for declassification regarding your background?
Yes, that's true. Senator, I think one important thing is that this committee plays a unique role to review the classified record. And we have sent over every piece of paper we can lay our hands on about my classified record. All of my evaluations over a 33-year career. And I think every senator has had the opportunity to look at classified material. But there are other questions that
the president has asserted that torture works. Do you agree with that statement?
It hasn't been finished at all.
Senator, I don't believe that torture works. I believe that in the CIA's program, and I'm not attributing this to enhanced interrogation techniques. I believe as many people directed through the staff administrator reforming, that valuable information was obtained from senior Al-Qaeda operatives that allowed us to defend this country and prevent another attack.
Is that a yes?
Well, here we go again. I've been in no, it's not a yes. We got valuable information from debriefing about a senator from New York, and I don't think it's normal or interrogation techniques. The senator with a Republican president. I will be the president.
If you were an effective senator, you could have done it. You were an effective senator, you could have done it. But you were not an effective.
Please allow her to respond. She didn't interrupt you.
You know, under our Constitution, presidents have something called veto. Look, he has now said repeatedly, 30 years this and 30 years that. So let me talk about my 30 years in public service. I'm very glad to do so.
One more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
What steps will your energy policy take to meet our energy needs, while at the same time remaining environmentally friendly and minimizing job loss for fossil power plants?
Absolutely, I think it's such a great mission.
Right there in California.
And once the water is here, at a determination as to
as I sit here today, I'm extremely concerned about the administration's repeated attacks on undocumented people and particularly American citizen children as it relates to a meeting with the Mexican and in particular under your leadership, DHS has rescinded doxing presence and other data for that administration. Predating your arrival as secretary. DHS has rescinded the DACA program, putting 700,000 young people at risk of deportation. It has separated 700 children from their parents at our borders in October of 2017 and taken more than 1 United States under the age of 4. The agency has released a directive that allows for more detention of pregnant women from detention facilities. The agency has instituted a new information sharing system between the Office of Refugees and Settlement and the United States, likely to have external effect on sponsors. Otherwise, if you go into 24 hours to provide care for and instead allowing those children to remain in the country. The agency has dramatically sworn to protect us. I find that just absolutely.
And then just last Wednesday, the Washington Post reported that you are considering undermining the Florida and agreement that it has standards carrier immigrant children, such as the provision of meals and
advocating more countries in
that they replace in a least restrictive setting possible.
The fact is,
and of course, carrying out these actions,
when I saw
has routinely provided misleading information.
There's only one of us on this stage who's actually,
and it's even gone so far as to claim that policies such as routinely separating families are carried out.
He mentioned China, and one of the biggest problems we have with China is the illegal dumping of steel and aluminum here to
is last Thursday when the New York Times reported that
as a senator, I stood up against it as Secretary of State
children.
Donald has bought Chinese
when they cross into the United States.
In fact, Trump right here in Las Vegas was made with Chinese steel.
Is that
so
correct?
He goes around with volunteers how terrible it is. He has jobs to Chinese steel workers, not American
undocumented
workers. In the 1980s, I was working in reform schools in Arkansas. What he was borrowing $14 million from his father separated business. In the 1990s, I went to Beijing, and I said, women's rights are human rights. He insulted a former Miss Universe, Alicia Machado, called her a eating machine. And on the day when I was in the situation room, monitoring the raid
at an April 26th hearing, I asked Undersecretary James McCammon to provide me with what percentage of cases exist in your agency where a child has been separated.
We were talking about immigrants a few minutes ago, Chris.
2017.
Half of
Where in the case results in
undocumented immigrants not in our country actually pay federal income tax.
I don't have it now,
we have undocumented immigrants in America.
Do that by the end of next week.
More federal income tax.
If we have
billionaires.
Yes, thank you. I also asked that I be provided with what training and procedures are being given to CBP officers as it relates to how they are instructed to carry out family separation. I've not received that information.
Are you saying you're not parent now?
No, I have not asked me for it, so I do not have it, but I asked him for it. Okay, so again, by the end of next week, please.
If you would explain a little more.
Sure. So,
Google
your agency will be separating
dozens of sources.
What we'll be doing
verify that he was for the invasion.
Just as we do every day.
You can actually hear the audio of him saying
I can appreciate that.
Donald thinks.
But if that parent has a 4-year-old child, what do you plan on doing? The child under law was to take child support care. They will be separated from their parents. And like we do in the United States every day. So they will be separated from their parents.
He says
is when you are separated children from their parents, do you have a protocol in place about how that should be done? And are you training payroll the people who will actually remove a child's will on how to do that out of it in the least traumatic way? As to replenish train on how to do to give us information about how you are training and what the protocols are for separating a child from their parent.
I'm happy to provide you with the training information.
And what steps are being taken, if you can tell me, to ensure that once separated, parent and child, that there will be an opportunity to at least sustain communication between the parent and their child?
The children are at HHS, but I'm happy to work with HHS to get you an answer for that.
And I'd like it to be broken down between what you're doing for children over the age of 4 and what you're doing for children under the age of 4. On May 4th, the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics issued a statement on behalf of the organization stating that he is appalled by a new policy by the DHS that will forcibly separate children from their parents. He went on to talk about that they will create stressful experiences like family separation, which can cause irreparable harm, disrupting a child's brain architecture, affecting his or her short and long-term health. And findings are shared by the American Medical Association and many child welfare advocates and professionals. Last Tuesday, before Senate appropriations, you testified that you are, quote, working with the community to understand the science as it relates to the impact of such separation. Do you dispute that separating a child from their parent will create and cause trauma for that child?
I believe the question that was asked me if I was aware of the information, and what I said is I would be happy to look into the studies. Again, we do not have a policy to separate children from their parents. Our policy is if you break the law, we will prosecute you. You have an option to go to a port of entry and not illegally cross into our country.
Secretary Nielsen.
What happened?
We do have a policy in this country, as a general matter in the justice system, that if someone breaks the law, they will be prosecuted. We also have protocols about what is allowable or not in connection with an arrest, in connection with detention and a jail, in connection with how many hours a day with which we can bring charges or not. So to suggest that the law in this country relates to what you do at the end is really misleading.
But that's not just like if you're asking to be trained, we take care of them, we work with HHS, we have a memorandum of agreement so that we can make sure that the children vote to people who are actually family members and who are not traffickers and who won't abuse them.
Great, so those are the policies I like to say. Okay, thank you.
The Trump administration is demanding $5 billion for a wall on our southern border.
The president has asked for $5 billion. Yes.
Now that's $5 billion of American taxpayer dollars, is that correct?
He has asked for a $5 billion appropriation, yes.
Right. Now government shutdown is serious, is that true?
Absolutely.
Yet the Trump administration plans to shut down our government in the absence of a $5 billion allocation for the border wall, is that correct?
I believe the president is actively negotiating right now.
Didn't the president say that he would own a shutdown if he did not receive $5 billion in American taxpayer money?
Again, I've been here this morning. I understand there's been a lot of activity since the passage last evening, but I understand your question, and what I would say is he's committed to getting $5 billion.
Okay, this is a yes or no question, and I think it played out before the American people and the world. Now, Secretary Nielsen, you also believe that our government should be shut down in the absence of a $5 billion allocation of American taxpayer dollars, is that correct?
I've never said that, no, sir. I think that we need border security, and we need a wall, and we need to find a way to fund the wall.
So you disagree with the president's position?